The launch of the Ryzen 9000 series processors turned out to be a bit of a flop. Although Advanced Micro Devices promised a significant performance improvement, tests conducted by independent reviewers seem to contradict this. The Zen 5 architecture sometimes showed single-digit performance gains over Zen 4, and sometimes there was even a decrease. However, we won't waste time here discussing industry drama. Instead, we'll focus on the facts. The fact is that throughout all these years, Windows has not been properly optimized for Ryzen series processors. And although this problem mostly affects the Zen 5 architecture, which in some cases lost up to 36% of its performance, according to Advanced Micro Devices, the lack of proper optimization in Windows also reduces the performance of older processors based on Zen 3 and Zen 4. So how much impact does the latest Windows update have on the performance of the Gamepad Digital WinMax 2? Will we also see an average of 10% or maybe even 36% more frames in games? Will the difference be negligible? It's time to find out. This is Pavel from the TechManiacHD channel. Let's get started. I just finished and published an extensive review of an incredibly interesting small laptop with a built-in game controller called the Gamepad Digital WinMax 2, and now there's news that all Ryzen processors from the last 5 years are seeing a significant performance boost. You might think, well, it's nice that after a Windows update, Advanced Micro Devices processors will now have higher performance in games. The Red's actions will improve their standing among users and may impact future processor choices. After all, Advanced Micro Devices users finally have something to be happy about, while Intel owners, unfortunately, have only reasons to be afraid and worried. Anyone who's in the know is aware that the 13th and 14th generation Intel processors turned out to be faulty. The problem with excessively high voltages and oxidation on the processor's surface leads not only to stability issues, but these processors simply die after just a few months. Over the past year, Advanced Micro Devices' stock value has risen from $105 to $150, while Intel's has dropped from nearly $50 to a mere $20 and is scraping the bottom. This is something that really makes me wonder. Which processor will you choose next time you need to buy, for example, a new laptop, or when you're building a desktop computer? Will it be Intel or Advanced Micro Devices? Write in the comments, and in the meantime, let's move on to the performance test. Let's start by checking the performance increase of the processor itself. So updating the system from version 23H2 to 24H2 in Cinebench R23 resulted in a rather insignificant, less than 1% increase in computing power in multi-threaded tasks. In the case of loading only one core, we see an improvement of 1.15%. In 7-zip compression, we also see a modest 0.5% increase in the score. Decompression performs a little better, but it's still not what I personally was hoping for. Here we have just 0.65% higher performance. The performance increase in programs is basically non-existent, but technically speaking, it was only said that the system update affects only gaming. So let's check if on mobile Zen 4 this actually gives us anything. If you have fond memories of Dead Space, you'll definitely want to play the Callisto Protocol, especially since you could get it for free on Epic. I plan to play it, that's why I did the tests for this game here. Before the update, we had 49.7 FPS at 800p and 32.3 at 1200p. After the update, we get, attention, 49.9 and 32.4. The average from 5 benchmark runs shows less than a 0.5% increase. That's not what I expected, but maybe there's something wrong with the game after all. Let's move on to Assassin's Creed Valhalla then, since after all, it was a game partially sponsored by Advanced Micro Devices. And as many of you know, it's a title that puts a lot of demand on the processor. Previously, we had 74.4 frames per second at 800p resolution and exactly 58 at 1200p. Switching to a newer version of Windows, according to the theory, had some effect, and at both resolutions in 24H2, we see, attention, 0.5% more frames. Now let's take a look at how the system update affects one of the newest and biggest productions of this year. Black Myth Wukong is really hard to run even on a desktop, but Gamepad Digital WinMax 2 also manages to handle it somehow. It's true that it's on low settings and with temporal super resolution, but with high textures and the frame generator turned off. Previously, we had 74.4 frames per second at 800p and not much less, 67.6 at 1200p. The update resulted in a negligible increase. Here too, we have a mere 0.5% more at 800 pp and even a bit less at 1200 pt. Therefore, I believe further discussion on this topic is unnecessary, as the trend is clear. So, what can you do? As you know, hope dies last. What matters is that we've verified advanced micro devices' promises, and yes, they may be true for the latest processors based on the Zen 5 architecture. But in the case of the mobile 8840U, which is based on Zen 4, updating Windows to version 24H2 does pretty much nothing. And this slight difference may be due to other minor system improvements. However, I think it was worth checking and making sure what it actually looks like in reality. If you agree with me, click the thumbs up and leave a comment. See you next time.